Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show and our mock draft Monday in the Birdhouse. Tonight we're talking startup drafts with our special guest, Dustin Royer from Dynasty Rewind. How we doing tonight, Dustin?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited. I've been off a little bit from the podcasting game, and I am so ready to get back. What do we got, 100 days until the season, 60 days
That's
until the Hall
right.
of Fame game? Let's go.
Yeah, it is almost time, and now that rookie draft season has just about ended for a lot of us, it is now startup season. And I don't know about you, Dustin, but I'm in the middle of one startup right now. It's a best ball startup. We just completed a regular lineup startup, and so now we're ready to give the audience our best insight here, at least on the early rounds of a startup. Can you, from your experience in a startup, I just look at it like early rounds, I'm playing to not lose and make sure that I get some good value. Because you can definitely lose your league in the first 5 rounds, but you can't necessarily win it, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I try not to go into any startup with any sort of predetermined game plan. I mean, other than when you're doing a derby, if you happen into being able to get into the back end, I tend to want to be on that turn and take advantage of the reversal. But I know I hear a lot of people talk about, maybe QB hoarding or hoard a position, trade a guy later, best player available. I think there's a time and place for that, but you really kind of have to be water in those first 3 to 5 rounds. And then I think we'll get into it here later, but that's going to tell the tale of where you're going to go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest key, just like you said, is to remain flexible, because even if like I've done it a lot, I love the 110, 111 picks, right? With the third round reversals, and um you can go in there thinking, man, I'm going to get this stack. Last year, I was like, I'm going to get this Marv Kyler stack, or you're going to do this or that. And then all of a sudden, Joe Burrow falls, or whatever. Like the one we did last night, it started up and Lamar Jackson fell to the 106. Like, you cannot predict what your league mates are going to do, and you can kind of predict, and that's what we're going to try and kind of do tonight with this. But yeah, you've got to remain flexible, because that QB hoarding strategy, you can't just go in and say, yeah, I'm going to hoard all the top quarterbacks here, because you don't know if the rest of the league goes all quarterbacks. I mean, then it's just not a smart strategy then. All right.
Absolutely.
So what we'll do here, we'll just go every other pick. So we'll each have 6 teams, and we'll build our own teams within those 6, and we'll try and talk a little bit of the strategy as we're going on. Now, obviously, the first round we're just going to go kind of chalk pretty much, but as we get into the second round and third round, then we can explain why we're making those selections. All right. So, Dustin, I'll go ahead. I'll give you the honors here. You can go ahead and have the 101. Just tell me who you want. I'll plug it in.
I'll take Jaden Daniels.
All right. Going Jaden up top. All righty. There we go. Any particular explanation other than he's younger than Josh Allen or Lamar?
Um, it's the age factor one, and also I have this strategy I've adopted the last couple years where when a team gets into their ultimate Super Bowl contention window, you really start to see that the points get spread out. Maybe the offense gets a little stale, kind of like what we saw from Patrick Mahomes, post 2023 or so, the last year and a half. Uh, So it's just kind of like a risk aversion thing where everybody's going to go Josh Allen 101. I might as well grab Jaden Daniels and see what happens, you know?
Fair enough. Yeah, I can't. Any of these top 3 picks, it could go any which way. I wouldn't blame you if you took Lamar Jackson 101. I'm not going to sit and.
I love Lamar.
Yeah.
And I'm a Steelers fan. I live in Pittsburgh, and I'll say that I love Lamar.
I don't want to. I'm going to cut that out and put it on a short for you. All right, I'm going to go Josh Allen. Josh has won me a few leagues, so the guy's been first or second in points the last 5-6 years. I'll just roll with that. Pretty easy. Then you're at the 103. Who are you going to go here?
I'll go Lamar Jackson. Okay. Absolutely. I mean, his upside, it seems like every year he just gets better somehow, and they've just run out of anything to say anymore. I mean, he's an above replacement passer. He can get you as many, if not more, rushing yards than the running back in the offense, you know, before Derrick Henry was there. Just he's a all-around just point-scoring machine, so...
And he keeps getting better at throwing the football. Like his accuracy is amazing, and they keep giving him weapons. So it's really unstoppable with Derrick Henry now too.
Yeah, one thing about Lamar that he gets zero credit for, he doesn't do dumb plays in the rushing and scrambling game to get himself hurt. They don't rush him in the red zone, you know. He goes out of bounds. Like, he doesn't get any credit for using that skill set the best way possible on top of getting better and better as a passer, in my opinion. He's just
that's incredible. A great point. I mean, I've heard that before, how he learned how to, you know, when he's going down, he knows how to avoid the injuries, or like as soon as he knows he's going down, he turns his body into the ground so that, because he has missed a few games here and there, but he's been able to avoid the serious injury for sure. All right, so 104, and this is where the drafts usually really begin, and I'm going to go Jalen Hurts here because we're doing a 12-team Superflex tight end premium lineup league, and in a lineup league, we'll just say start 12. Or start 11, we'll say, and 0.75 tight end premium, just to give some context here. But I'm going to go Jalen Hurts. He also knows how to avoid injury with getting hit. Obviously, the tush push lives another year, but I don't think his stats would get that hurt anyway if they got rid of the tush push. I know Saquon's there, but I still think that, you know, Jalen's good for 8 to 10 rushing touchdowns, we'll say. So I got to slide down here for that. There we go. All right. Now, and that goes for 6 points a touchdown pass or 4 points a touchdown pass. I guess we really didn't lay that out there, but yeah, I'm still going to go Jalen. All right, so now it's back to you, Dustin, at the 105.
Oh, man. Just trying to look at this from an individual team standpoint. 'Cause can you pull up the quarterbacks real quick so we can take a look at those? So, I mean, looking at the ADP, you have Burrow hanging out there, and then you're staring Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson in the face, you know? So this 105, like you said, 104, 105, this is really where the draft starts. But I can't pass up Jamar Chase there at the 1-5. I'm going to have to lock him in.
All right, you got him. And yeah, it's tough to pass on Jamar, for sure. It's not as easy to get the Chase Burrow stack anymore. That was a possibility maybe last year, when Burrow had fallen because of his injury the previous year. But now I think Burrow's more locked into where he should be, considered talent-wise, and then especially with Chase and Higgins getting their extensions. I mean, this is going to be a fireworks display for the next 4 or 5 years there in Cincinnati. Their defense, another story, but I don't think they really seem to care.
Yeah,
All right.
I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so that being said, I am gonna go Joe Burrow. Maybe it's the boring pick, but I'm leaning into the quarterback here. I always tend to try and, yeah, if I'm picking near the end, near the turns, then I'll try and go wide receiver, I guess. So I can maybe stack up 2 wide receivers and build that way. But I think getting Burrow here helps you remain flexible in that second round when we get to that middle of the second round. So
Absolutely,
we'll go.
especially if you're looking at a pocket quarterback, like you mentioned with Chase, their defense is basically non-existent. He's completely surrounded with weapons, so it's the ideal situation for a pocket QB to just go nuclear again.
Absolutely. All right, so now to the 107, Dustin. Which route you want to go now?
Definitely not going Patrick Mahomes, that's for sure.
He has become quite more affordable, I'll say that.
Yeah, we'll let him slide, see where he ends up. 0.75 tight end premium with what we're looking at here. I know Jefferson looks great, Bijan, Gibbs, but give me Brock Bowers.
All right, interesting. He went at the 107 in my draft last night.
I mean, basically, the way I look at it with Bowers is if I can get him on my team, I'm locking in that tight end position. I'm never going to have to worry about it. And then maybe I'll take a couple dart throws that I would normally take anyways and get another flex, a backup tight end 2 out of it, you know?
Sure. Or, you know, even with 0.75, I mean, tight ends can be flexed very easily as you go down the board. But, like...
So, like a Bowers Kraft, a Bowers Warren, you know, something like that, where it's just bang, bang.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, you know, Trey McBride might make it back to the 206, and then you go with the double-headed monster.
Woo!
Really scare everybody. All right. Now I'm gonna go with the running back here. I'll take Bijan. And I don't love starting them off with running backs, but I'm going to try one of the builds with a running back to start with. And, you know, last year was sort of an aberration with the running back staying so healthy. I think this year we'll probably see it bounce back to the norm a little bit. But, you know, Bijan's that guy where he's ready to pop and have that career season where he gets close to 20 touchdowns, over 2,000 yards, not necessarily rushing just 2,000 yards, but 2,000 total yards. And yeah, I want to be there and have as many shares as possible when that happens for Bijan. So we'll go there at the 108. All right, 109.
I will say Bijan seems to be like the forgotten about guy. All of a sudden you hear about these rookies and Jahmyr Gibbs and everything, and Bijan's just going to come out and just be a horse. 109, I'm going to have to go Malik Neighbors.
All right.
I will just come out and say this. I would not call you crazy if you took Malik Neighbors as the wide receiver 1 in a Dynasty Startup, to be honest with you. Just looking, I did some research on him for another podcast I'm going to be doing. His target quality rating was 38th in the NFL. There's 32 starting quarterbacks, right? but he still broke the rookie reception record in his first season. He was number 2 in targets, number 1 in target share, number 2 in target rate. It's just absurd. And then his QB rating per target was 56. So that's like the backup quarterback of the worst team in the league. So like, if you can't tell me that between Jackson Dart, Russell Wilson, and JMO, Neighbors is down there somewhere, just even 20%, 10% more efficiency, and there he goes again. You know?
Yeah, it's a total argument that I hear it all. I mean, I watch South Harmon a lot. Those guys, Adam, he is all over Neighbors as his Dynasty 1 wide receiver. And I can't argue against it. Like, he's younger than Chase and Jefferson, right? For one. And then, yeah, what is his ceiling going to be? And if him and Dart get on the same page, like, who knows how far they can go together. And he's 3 years younger than Chase, 4 years younger than Jefferson. So, yeah, I can't hate on that at all, being right now. Because come, week 3, week 4, you could be seeing Neighbors everywhere as Dynasty wide receiver 1.
I was shouting from the rooftops last year, right after he was drafted, that he would end up being a wide receiver 1 in fantasy in general, and people thought I was nuts. It's just unbelievable, the talent. And like you said, he's so young. Just imagine a few years from now when he's in his athletic prime, and he's a full grown-ass man too.
Yeah.
It's going to be just unbelievable.
Right, for sure. All right. At the 110, I'm going to go with the wide receiver then, Justin Jefferson, who I still believe is the best well-rounded receiver in football. And so it's, honestly, if you're looking wide receiver and you end up with Chase, Neighbors, or Jefferson, you got a good start. So I'll just roll with who's left here at the 110, basically.
Yeah.
I think that J.J. McCarthy will be fine. All that talk about him not throwing enough at Michigan is just blah, blah, blah. I mean, the dude didn't have to throw in the second half, so of course he wasn't throwing in the second enough attempts there at Michigan. I think he's more than capable. I mean, I just go back to when Mahomes was coming into his second year, the year he was first starting, and he had Tyreek around him, he had Kelsey there, and I was like, so what kind of projection numbers are you looking at for Mahomes? Because if you're going to project him low numbers, well, then what, is Tyreek and Kelsey going to all of a sudden drop off too? I was like, no. And that's how I look at it with McCarthy. I mean, Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, their numbers aren't falling. So McCarthy's going to be good for 4,000 to 4,500 yards, in my opinion, in that Kevin O'Connell offense. All right. So we'll go to you now at the 111, Dustin.
All right. So this is a very tough decision. I am going to have to go with my boy CeeDee Lamb, though. He was my number 1 target this offseason in Dynasty. I made a lot of trades for picks when, last year this was the worst class ever and you could just buy picks up. And then I spent most of those picks on Puka Nacua, CeeDee Lambs. I got a Neighbors deal done somehow, etc. But now you're seeing it. I mean, we're still how many months out, and all of a sudden everyone's waking up. Oh, Lamb's a top 3 wide receiver. Oh, Dak's good at football too. Now they have Pickens. But a couple months ago, it was like CeeDee Lamb didn't exist. It was just crazy to me. But yeah, tell me last year that you would get Jefferson at 110 and Lamb at 111 in a draft period, even super flex, and I'd tell you were crazy. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, there's no ceiling for CD. He could be wide receiver 1 this year, and I would not bat an eye at all. Even with Pickens coming into the mix, that only helps him, honestly, in my opinion.
Agree.
And as long as Dak stays healthy, I mean, that's the key. They got to keep Dak upright. It can happen for sure. You've seen
I
what's
like Joe
happened to
Milton
them.
a little bit too.
Yeah, you've seen what's happened when Dak goes down. Cooper Rush finally started getting around, coming around the later half of last year, but early on it was a little bit of a struggle there with CD getting on the same page. But yeah, a healthy Dak all season long, and CD's going to put up close to career numbers, in my opinion. All right. There we go. Okay. So the 112 now. Oh boy, here we go. All right, I'm going to try it. I'm going to go two-headed monster here. Jameer. Oh, and I don't pick. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a second. I don't pick now. Yeah, I do. So I'm going to do the two-headed monster there. And go double tap the running back and try this strategy out. I think it's only viable because it's two of the top 3 running backs. Now, if, let's say, Ashton Genty had gone instead of any of those 3 wide receivers previously, I don't know that I would do it with Gibbs and Saquon, right? Because to me, Saquon, that would be reaching a little on him. But with Gibbs and Genty, both, under 25 years old, plenty of tread on the tires. Let's lean into it. Let's try it and have a little fun with that build.
I definitely agree with you with the Saquon piece. Like, usually when I'm doing a startup, I try, like I said, not to go into it with a plan. But the one thing I don't want to do is draft an old team from the gate. And I was off of Christian McCaffrey last year just because of the volume total, and now that's the case with Saquon. Seems like it's like the cool thing to do now is talk about that, so I haven't really been like piling on, but historical data is something that I really rely on. I'm not the biggest like yards per route run and this guy, but consistently in the NFL, anybody who's had a touch total of or around 400, including the playoffs, has fell off the next season due to injury or decline. So paying 2-1 for Saquon, no thank you.
Yeah, and he got on the Madden 26 cover now today. So there's that.
Yeah. I think
McCaffrey was on the cover last year, so you can't. I mean, it's hard to argue against it.
I think I'm the only guy that doesn't play video games in my age bracket. I swear.
I don't play it either. I just find it humorous how ironic it is. So many times the guy has a fall off the following year, but they usually put the guy on the cover after he's had his career season as well. So a fall off is like inevitable.
Right. It's kind of like the Simpsons predicting the future thing. It just is what it is.
Yeah, they're so good at it. It's just unbelievable. Hey, how do they do that? All right. So now with the CeeDee Lamb start, I'm gonna go Dak Prescott here. No.
No. I'm gonna go.
What are you looking at?
CD Puka. That's,
Puka, there you go.
CD Puka is one of my favorite starts. Like I was saying, I like to be in the back end of the startup. And then with the third round reversal, I should be able to dip into that next tier of quarterback without having to reach whatsoever and still get 2 of, I'd say, in top 5, top 6 Dynasty wide receivers there. So.
No, absolutely a great start there. You can't go wrong with CD and Puka. I mean, even with Devontae Adams coming to LA, that's not going to affect Puka. I mean, he was not affected by Cooper Kupp coming back from injury last year. Puka is the guy. He's going to get his healthy 7 to 10 targets a week. Yeah, Puka could be that wide receiver one this year. You go down, there's probably 6 or 7 wide receivers, and I'm going to grab another one right here and mimic your start. With the question now is which one to go. All right, I'm just going to go. I'm going to go with the youth. I'll go Brian Thomas. It's BTJ or Amon-Ra. You could take either of them. I'll just go with the youth mix with Jefferson there. That's really, I mean, Amon-Ra, is he really falling off? I don't think so. I'm still pretty confident in the teams that I've got Amon-Ra on that he's going to still stay consistently near the top 5 at wide receiver. It's just more of a youth thing there by taking Brian Thomas. And I think resurgence for Trevor Lawrence this year, definitely.
Question for you on BTJ. Does the production with Mac Jones and how his targets, target share, target depth, and touchdown totals just spiked out of nowhere with that situation, does that worry you at all?
No, not really, because the offensive system that's coming in now fits this team to a T. Like, I know Travis Hunter isn't exactly Chris Godwin, okay, but the way that they move him around the offense will be. And Brian Thomas is going to be able to play that Mike Evans role, like, perfectly. He's going to be Mike Evans 10 years younger. Go back in time, and that's what you're looking at from Brian Thomas going forward as long as this offense is in place in Jacksonville. And yeah, it's, when you've got Trevor Lawrence was the 101 that year for a reason. Like, there were some pretty damn good quarterbacks in that class. Now, they all haven't performed that well. Obviously, we've seen it's easy to look back in hindsight now, but Trevor Lawrence still is immensely talented, and he's a dude who we were taking in the first round of startups, 2 years ago? And so he's one of the quarterbacks that I'm sure we'll end up talking about in a few rounds here, but he's somebody that can definitely pop and get himself back up into the, second round range of startups for sure. So that's where I'm at with that. And no, it's a great point though, how Mac Jones did up Brian Thomas's numbers.
Well, what you said about Mike Evans is actually exactly what I'm saying. So Mike Evans in the Liam Cohen offense was 7.1 targets a game in the pure X role. Brian Thomas with Trevor Lawrence before the injury was 6.7 targets in the X role in that offense. So if the usage is the same, I'm just wondering if Lawrence and him are going to be able to produce that same amount of production without the increase in targets, etc. Because, I don't know, something for me that really caught my attention with BTJ was Cohen came in, he didn't really know the team, he was so excited, he said he was going to move BTJ everywhere, he was going to be that, like, Godwin role, whatever, in his mind. And then immediately they traded the hen house and went and grabbed Travis Hunter. So, it's just from, like you said, from a scheme standpoint, BTJ is the X. The X isn't going to be the high volume target in the offense. So I think he's a stud. I'm just not quite sure that he should be up there in the Malik Neighbors, Jamar Chase ether where he's starting to get to.
Sure. Now, if you ask me if I think that Travis Hunter can surpass him, that's a different answer, because I do think that that's possible. Okay, so we'll get to that, though, soon. It's just a matter of who grabs him first, I guess.
I knew I liked you. I knew it.
All right. But I think that with the youth that Thomas has, he also could be moved around still more. I think Evans is so kind of set in his ways right now that's why he's playing just that role so much. And you saw Evans' targets obviously get get more targets when Godwin went down. And that could easily happen if one of these guys goes down. Then all of a sudden you got a super alpha going on. But I mean, Brian he was averaging like over 30 points a game with Mac Jones last year. It was pretty wild the last 6 games.
Yeah, McCorkle Jones was just balling out, man. All right, let's look at this draft board here. Malik Neighbors. What's our quarterbacks looking like? I know we got Patrick Mahomes hanging out up there.
Yeah, there we go. You got Mahomes, and then you got that cluster, so to speak.
Right. See, now in a startup here, these next few picks, this is really, really one of those pinch points.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, we're looking here, obviously, I don't have a QB. The next 2 teams, no QB. You look at the board, you see some QBs there. But 3D chess, there's 3rd round reversal. They're not going to get access to a quarterback, more than likely, because the run's going to happen. So the smart thing to do here, even though I don't want to, I'm gonna take Patrick Mahomes, just so I don't get locked out at QB1. And then, hopefully I can get one of those young guys around the horn.
Yeah, so, there's 2 different ways to look at it, 3D chess or 4D chess style. You could look at it where, how willing are you to bet on one of those 4 teams at the end who started off all quarterback are going to actually try and double quarterback it? Maybe because they're worried about what's left there and coming back in the 3rd round, or they just that's where you got to know your league mates a little bit, hopefully. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you're in a startup with people you've never drafted with before. Sometimes you're in with newbies and they don't know the value of quarterbacks in Superflex leagues. So
newbies can be like more chaos in a startup sometimes than the sharpest people, because they'll just spin the wheel, and it gets all crazy.
Oh, dude, the one we did last night, a guy took Saquon at 103. I was almost ready to just shut it down and be like, okay, I got to give you a little session here, buddy.
Was it Superflex?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's an all gas move right there. No brakes at all.
I mean, if he took Bijan, at least you could like kind of argue it. But dude, and then he got Gibbs at the 111. He traded up, so then so he was going the running back route to start. But his team's all right. He's just drafting an all win now team. He's used to redraft and keeper leagues, and he'll have to learn. He'll have to watch some of our shows. Speaking of which, let's cut in here, Dustin. I want to give you an opportunity to let the folks know in the Birdhouse here where you are at now. I know you just recently started with Dynasty Rewind. Why don't you share your ride as to where you're at right now quickly?
Yeah, so I've been working in this space for, this has actually been a year, a couple days ago exactly. I jumped in. I was working with Player Profiler, worked with Shane and Scott over at DDFFB behind the scenes, helping them with some stuff. And, man, I was really blessed to land with Mike and Nate over at Dynasty Rewind, a couple PA boys like me. So we're jumping in here. We're about to launch. I think, honestly, by the time we're done with the podcast, the website might actually be live. Putting up my first article, Dark Horse Dynasty Wide Receiver Ones. And we're going to kick it off with our boy Devontae Adams that we were talking about earlier. So there'll be links to that. My podcast, Third and Dynasty, we'll be moving that over there. Doing some stuff with the Patreon with Mike, just jumping into kind of like a 3-down workhorse and just gonna do what I can and see what we can do with it, man. Super
awesome
excited.
Stuff. Great. Yeah. So I'll be sure to, for you out there, I'll be sure to leave a couple links for for Dustin stuff down in the comments section, so you can go ahead and get over there and check some of their things out going on at Dynasty Rewind. All right, and for you out there, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. That's what helps the Birdhouse out and all of us out all the time. All right, so let's get back to this startup here, and we're back to the squad that took Bijan in the first round, and now we're staring down the opportunity to go double tight end here to start. Whew. And now with Saquon sitting there, you could go double running back. I'm gonna go tight end. I'm gonna try that. So we're gonna go with Trey McBride here in the 0.75 tight end premium. I'm gonna lean into that and try this build for once. I got to be honest, I have not gotten hardly any Trey McBride shares since I traded him away for Dawson Knox in a third rounder after his rookie season. So does this mean you're hanging on to all your Ben Sinnott shares then, if you're buying into the Trey McBride story happening again with Zach Ertz, or no?
I don't know. I wasn't really the biggest Ben Sinnott guy to begin with.
My co-host loves Ben Sinnott. Let me tell you, Matt English is all over Ben Sinnott.
Is he a Raz guy?
Nah, he just liked well, I guess in a way, yes, because he just liked his versatility coming out of college. So
yeah. I will say on McBride though, it's crazy. Look at the board here. Brock Bowers 107, which is realistic. I mean, it's gonna continue to probably be there, or maybe more as we get through camp and this offense comes out, etc. But then you have McBride at the 2.5. But if you were to try to trade in Dynasty, their value's almost right here. It's almost 1-to-1. It's barely any different. So like that's one of the best values, because from McBride there's a teardrop.
Yeah.
You know? So that's a killer pick at a 2.5, even in a startup.
Well, I like it, and I'm going to try it out here because again, I haven't been able to get any shares of McBride, and I kind of I like building from the depths at the tight end position, so to speak. So I like to load up everywhere else, and then I like to garbage bin shop for those Jonnu Smiths, you know, and that's just the startup I did that we're in the like 25th round on. I held out as long as possible, and 16th round is where I had to finally hit the button on Hunter Henry.
Nice.
So I was doing some dumpster diving there. Oh yeah. All right.
I'm late round drafting, if it's the way to play the board, you can just build some monsters if you hit on a couple guys. You know, be it tight end, quarterback, running back. I mean,
absolutely.
Shout out JJ Zacharyson for starting that whole concept up.
He was sort of a pioneer in that. Yes, absolutely. No doubt.
Right, so we got Brock Bowers. It's on me, right?
Yes, sir. Going off of that Bowers build, which way do you go now?
Can you click over to the full ADP?
Sure. Yeah. Here we go.
Ooh, we got Like, I don't deny Amon-Ra St. Brown's talent, but do you ever just have players that you just don't like rostering for some reason? He's just one of those guys for me, and I have no idea why, you know, like, but I'll just draft somebody that will replace the same amount of points on my roster and not be Amon-Ra St. Brown. So with that being said, I'll take Nico Collins here.
All right. Nico it is. There we go. All right. So now I've got Joe Burrow, and now the question becomes, do you want to double tap quarterback to start with, or are you going to veer from that and try and go elsewhere? Now, I try to stay as liquid as possible early on. I don't want to have to, in years past, it was how soon are you going to take McCaffrey? Right now, McCaffrey is further enough down the board that it doesn't matter. You're not pigeonholing yourself into that win now build. The same was true for Kelsey for all those years, right? As soon as you took Kelsey, well, now you're a win now team. I think the first couple of rounds right now in Dynasty Startups, it's damn near impossible to put yourself in that position. I think the one guy on the board that's still hanging out, Saquon, is maybe the one guy that you would draft that all of a sudden you're like, well, now I'm a win now team. That said, I'm going to go Amon-Ra. With an opportunity to get Amon-Ra this late, mid-second round, and still have the opportunity to get a top 5 wide receiver, I'm gonna jump on it there for Amon-Ra. All right.
Now, when you brought up Saquon, you started my mind thinking here, taking on Saquon on a team here with Jamar Chase, with the influx of youth at running back, if I play these later rounds right and kind of spam some dart throws, I think I'm going to take Saquon with Chase there, and then, shoot for a young quarterback too. Try to absorb some of that age and risk.
Sure. I can feel that. I hear you there. Okay. So now, we're at the top of the board, and it is almost nothing but quarterbacks. You got Drake London and then Omari and Hampton's there too. But wow. Oh. I think all of the elite players are gone pretty much now, and now this is another tier divide right here. Oh boy. All right, I'm gonna take Herbert here, and we'll go with the double quarterback build and see where it takes us. I love the drafting of Trey Harris. That helps the offense as a whole. Obviously, Amari and Hampton is a beast, and we may not see all of it this year, but maybe in the second half of this season. It depends how well Najee holds up, of course. But that's going to be a monster of an offense in LA, and they're ready to take on the Chiefs for sure. I just want to see them be able to beat the Chiefs, honestly. I'm rooting for him hard. And Justin Herbert's just a really good quarterback. He's very safe, insulated value. He's been in this range for a couple of years now. I know he had been a round 1 startup, and now he's in this range. But with Ladd McConkey and the other weapons that he's got now, I think that Herbert's pretty safe, even in a Greg Roman offense. I think that, honestly, they were talking bad about him last year, and I said, well, maybe it's because Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman never had a guy that could sling it like Justin Herbert. And lo and behold, what was it? What is the rate I'm thinking of? Anyway, when it's 50-50 shot for passing or throwing last year, passing or running, they threw the ball more than they ran it. So
neutral pass rate.
Neutral pass rate. There's the term. So yeah, they have adapted, and that's because they're good head coaches. It's a good coach and a good offensive coordinator. They know what they're doing, so they're going to throw it with Herbert. They're not, throwing it 30th in the league or anything like that. So, all right, back to you and your Lamar Jackson build.
So,
you want to see another position?
No, I'm going to go with Drake May.
Okay.
Going to kind of piggyback off what you were saying with the dual elite quarterback. So we have what? 4, 5, 6, 7. So Drake May coming off as QB8 on the board here. I've even reached for him ahead of Mahomes and Herbert in a few instances. depending on format. I have a couple leagues where there's like a half point per first down rushing
I
as
love
well,
that.
um, but with May, for him, just as like a sole fantasy football player, they've added Stephon Diggs, they drafted Kyle Williams, they drafted Travion, the offensive line, new coach, new OC. So it looks like the entire offense is going to step up, which should make him a better quarterback. But even if that's not the case, we're going to get an entire year of Drake May hero ball. They shut him down towards the end of the season. They told him to stop rushing. They changed the playbook. They didn't want him to get hurt. They wanted the 101 until Joe Milton won that game and got himself traded. But I just think May, from like an upside standpoint, youth, skill set, it's just a win. I can't see a way where at the 210 you're missing.
No, and if there's one quarterback that could jump his way back or jump back up into the first round for next year's startups, it's Drake May for me too. Like his ceiling's higher than Herbert's because he has to do the hero ball, and that's from a rushing perspective. Like, he's going to rush for more yards and probably more touchdowns than Justin Herbert will. So if he throws for just as much, then you're looking at more fantasy points, and that's why what most of the community is seeing, why he's been pushed up to QB8 already. And I can't hate on that at all. That the rushing upside there is definitely better than Herbert and Mahomes, and we all know that rushing upside is what has those top four quarterbacks that we picked at the top of the draft, why they're there. And you mentioned the half point per rushing first down. I love that. I have the half PPR and half point per first down rushing or receiving in almost all of my leagues. I don't know how many times I've said it, but like I told you earlier, I've been playing this for a while, and when they first started PPR, I wish that we would have had the sense to just do point per first down. And then all of us right now would just see that as the norm. Because doesn't that make more sense? It's like, why are we doing a point per reception and why are we doing a point per carry? Leagues, you're given a point for, or a 0.2 points for just taking a handoff. It just makes so much more sense to give you points for actually getting a first down. Like, that's important in the real game. So, you know what I mean? Like, there's more important 2-yard carries for a first down than 3 yards on first down.
Absolutely. So, the way I have my league set up, we do half PPR, and then wide receivers get a full point, and then tight ends get 1.5.
So tiered PPR, yeah.
Tiered, and then you get the 0.5 rushing receiving for the first downs. So then in a startup, it's just level. You can draft any way you want to, whichever way you want to. So it leads to really interesting dynamic leagues that, they've been more active, these startups, than any leagues I've started in years. So I wholeheartedly agree with you on that.
Yeah, it definitely pays to do your due diligence. If you're a commissioner, look at the war charts for the scoring systems that you've set up. You want to make it so that all the positions are relevant. You don't want to have it where quarterbacks are way up here and then receivers and running backs are way down here. This mimics the real NFL where quarterbacks are on top, and that's kind of what we're trying to accomplish here to get the best format. Now, there's a lot of little intricacies you can do here and there, but be careful when you put those point per carries in that you're not overloading the running backs or something. And that's why I'm saying use the tools like you can find free on Dynasty Daddy. Shout out to Jeremy there. Look at the war chart before you go ahead and say, hey guys, this is the format we're going to use. Make sure that everybody understands and try to make it as level as possible. You can see Dustin and I here, we each drafted a tight end here in the first 2 rounds. There's many other tight ends that are totally valuable because they're flexible. So you can draft 2 or 3 tight ends early if you want to build the strength through the tight end room. But that's what makes it most fun. That's what makes more players tradable. Like if you have a position that's completely useless, nobody's gonna wanna trade for an Evan Ingram when he's hot, even though
Right.
he's putting up massive points. So yeah, try and keep it fun and relatable to the real game as much as possible. And so yeah, a great point there with the point per first down and the tiered PPR option. Those are great options for your leagues out there. All right. So now I'm back to the Josh Allen build here. And we don't pick again for another 12 picks. So this is a very, very important pick here. And now I've seen two teams in front of us. If I'm this team, I've just seen two teams in front of me go quarterback, quarterback. So I think I'm going to veer differently. And I am going to go Drake London here because I want to have try and get an advantage in the wide receiver room on these other two guys that just drafted in front of me there. All right, so Drake London coming in. This dude had an awesome target share with Michael Penix at the end of last season, and now they are just building that camaraderie here. I am going all in on that 40% target share for this season. I'll be happy with a 30% target share because I know I've got enough shares of Drake London that that'll make me happy if he gets 30% this year.
I mean, if you just cut out those middle couple games, I mean, the beginning of the season, the end of the season, he was like a top 8 wide receiver, I think it was, or something. Top 5 maybe.
Yeah, depending on the format, I saw one of my leagues he was top 5. He was 5th. Now, granted, that wasn't 5th in average per game. He stayed healthy, so that of course put him ahead of a few other guys. But dude's a top 10 wide receiver any way you slice it. So I think him and Michael Penix together. I mean, Penix throws such a pretty ball, and I don't know if we'll get quite down to that range where Penix goes, but he's an interesting cat in Dynasty because he really doesn't run a whole lot. But the guy, I mean, if they throw it a lot, I don't want to say he can put up Joe Burrow numbers, but he could be pretty impressive with his numbers potentially. We'll just put it at that. And Drake London is obviously the centerpiece around that air attack, at least. Bijan, we know, is the main game in town, but it's a deadly offense they're building there in Atlanta.
For sure. I think, like you were saying, London really has that chance to just be a target monster. I mean, Darnell Mooney's decent. Pitts is already injured again and maybe traded, so. Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah. I got out for a first last year, so hallelujah to that.
Good for you, man. Those days are gone. Try and get a third for him now.
It was the right after the good game. As soon as he had that good game, I traded him immediately.
Yep. Good man.
But now he's getting to the point, it's like the David Njoku's of the world. You wait for the dead cat bounce now.
Now he's a total buy. He's the guy you want to get on as a throw-in on the back end of a deal, right?
I think that's why fantasy managers hate fantasy football analysts, because we do that kind of stuff. We're like, no, with me it was Evan Ingram this year. I'm like, he's getting cut, he's getting traded, he's worthless. There's no way he's going to be on the team. Liam Cohen uses a Y, not an F tight end. And then as soon as he went to Denver, I was like, buy him now for a third immediately.
But then it was too late.
Yeah, I got a couple in there. But now,
That's good.
luck with that now. But yeah, speaking of top 10 wide receivers, let me get Ladarius McConkey here, wide receiver, LA Chargers.
Absolutely.
Piggybacking on what you said about Justin Herbert earlier, you could just see, and I'll say this because I'm like half through the research, but there is a ton of 2014 Antonio Brown coming for 2025 Lad McConkey. Like if you look at Antonio Brown's first season where he actually played, I think he played in 6 games his first year, but
Yeah.
it lines up from a metric standpoint, from a yards per route run, receiving yards per game, touchdowns. It's like right there. And then when I put the tape on with Ladd and Herbert, I'm from Pittsburgh. I got 2 Super Bowls out of Big Ben. I watched AB and Ben my whole life, and it looks damn near the same. You know, you have this massive quarterback. He's in the pocket. He doesn't run to get yards. He runs to throw the ball downfield. And Ladd McConkey, so I started at Player Profiler charting all 22 film for their metrics.
Mm-hmm.
And when I watch Ladd McConkey on all 22, the man's pinky doesn't move when it shouldn't. That's how symmetrical he is. Like, he owns the field and knows where he's going to be before you think about it. Like, it's just almost unbelievable to me. And, like, if you watch Underdog, Josh and the other guy, I can't remember his name, but they're starting to just shout from the rooftops about Ladd McConkey. And thanks to the guys at Rewind, I finally got my hands on PFF data, and I can go back in the Wayback Machine to 2014, and I'm going to dig through these AB stats. But I think Ladd McConkey could possibly be the best buy in Dynasty, even if you have to pay up for it, just because there's more there. I mean, a lot of these guys we're talking about, Neighbors was a wide receiver 1, Lamb was the wide receiver 1, Jefferson, Chase were, but they're basically capped at the market. Like, they're where they're going to be. You can draft Ladd McConkey as like wide receiver 10, and he could very easily be the wide receiver 1 this year, next year, the next 5 years. You know, it's just wild.
That makes me feel a lot better about the trade I made in a draft about 2 weeks ago, getting Ladd McConkey. And, you know, there was a time, the beginning of this offseason, I was looking at Ladd and I was like, did he hit his ceiling already in his rookie year? Because there's some people that feel that way, but you're obviously showing that it's not. And you're backing it up with numbers. You're not just throwing shit on a wall here.
Yeah.
There's definite reason to believe that Ladd McConkey is nowhere near his ceiling yet, is what you're saying.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, the numbers are all over the place. You can look on my X feed. I did a graphic on Ladd's season, and he's right up there with A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, Jefferson, and a whole bunch of these metrics. Because, you know, I had a guy come at me sideways about A.J. Well, this about A.J. Brown and this about this. So then I went in there for like 4 hours and popped it out, and I was like, here you go. You know what I mean? Like, nice. I don't like to argue with people. I like to educate. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yes, that's the way to go. Got to do that with my league mates a lot. You know, you want to keep everybody, don't burn any bridges. You know, you can agree to disagree on players. But
the guy that sends Fab in his trades all the time.
Oh man, I am spamming trades out all day long, and so if I got offended by getting a trade declined or no offer back or no counter offer,
$10 in Fab in there though. That's the thing that kills me.
I'm not the Fab guy. I got this. This is a shout out to Mojo in a bunch of our leagues. Mojo just got a deal done at the beginning of the startup where he got 12 Fab thrown in at the very bottom of it.
Nice. This dude in the startup tried to trade Fab for a startup pick later on the board, and I was like, no. I was like, that's where I'm drawing the line right now. You can't just have players for free.
Oh man,
that's great.
Hey.
That's the glue guy, though. You know, he's the best dude in the league.
Yeah, some guys are all over that Fab. Dan from Dynasty Theory, he loves his Fab. Oh man. Yeah. So some guys, and I get it. It pays off at the end of the year. And the end of the year, I mean, a few bucks here or there.
You do all this work like we do. You do them early rookie drafts. That Fab comes in handy when you can grab a Torrey Horton or a Trevor Etienne for free. You know.
Oh yeah, because like this year, more than a lot of years, this year it may not have been as top heavy as say last year's draft. But this draft, especially for lineup leagues, in the depth that it's got at running back, is just phenomenal for the UDFAs after our four round rookie drafts. I mean, I am scooping up. Well, Brashard Smith got kind of pumped up. I mean, I got too many shares of Brashard Smith now, but
there's no such thing as too many shares. I was cutting his film since January, preaching about Brashard Smith.
Me and my guy Matt English, we were all over him heading into the Senior Bowl, heading into the combine. Then he had a good combine, and then he still doesn't get drafted till the 7th round, and then he goes to a team that his spot is almost like solidified out the gate. Like, he is Jerick McKinnon all over again there, and so he's almost penciled in for the most important touches in one of the best offenses in the league. I mean, I just don't see how you cannot want him. I even grabbed him at the end of the 3rd round in some leagues.
Absolutely. The thing, one of the best decisions I made when evaluating this running back class was I made the decision to plus up the rounds from 3 down. Because everybody saw the class as being, it's a historically athletic class, it is, right?
Yes.
But they saw that it's from a market standpoint. So I have a background in sales and communications and like Chrysler and Ford and stuff like that. When you look at the supply demand, that's gonna push the running backs down the board. And then it's not just our like bias of looking at it. Then on the back end of the draft, we got stories from all of the different GMs and coaches saying, well, we just waited because we didn't want to be the first one to pick in the tier. And so, like, I actually need to post this, but I did a breakdown of the draft in linear order and then chopped it up into 4s. So you can visually see where these guys were drafted. And when you look at it and you see, like, Cam Scatabo was RB5 or 6, I can't remember.
He would have been 7.
7, okay.
Did he go ahead of Tootin or behind Tootin? I can't remember. He was 7 or 8.
I think he started the running back run, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so then he would have been 7, and then Tootin was 8.
Yeah, but the point being, you know, when you look at the board intellectually from a positional standpoint, you look at that position as a position of strength, and also look at tight end the same type of way. Yeah. Like you're saying, I mean, the talent, the depth, it's all there for me at least. And then, like I was saying, the coaching staff backed that up with coach speak. I'm not the biggest like analytics guy, but some people I trust. What the hell is it? Dynasty Domain.
Oh,
Their bakery is unparalleled.
It's phenomenal. Yes, it is.
Tootin and Scatabo were the highest graded 4th round running backs in the history of that, and they were like decimal.
I love that for my 8 Bashul Tootin shares.
Yes.
Tootin and Brashard Smith are my highest owned players right now.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to pick them here at the 301, but...
Yeah, so Brashard Smith's a 6th round pick in our heart. That's what we're getting at.
I would almost bump it up 2 or 3 rounds, to be honest, because I'm looking at some of the dudes that were taken at running back, you know, in the previous years in the 4th round, and Brashard Smith, like, who did I compare him to? Well, okay, he compares well to Tyron Tracy, right? In that he was a wide receiver in college, and now he's a running back, right? Just in that phase. But I think Brashard Smith's a better running back than Tracy, and Tracy was taken in the 5th round, I think, last year. So that's where I'm getting at. Like, you could almost bump these guys up 3 rounds from where they were picked to get kind of a real sense of what their value should be. It's just that this was this running back class went 30 deep. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, like you said, let's hope all these Tootin and Trevor Etienne and Scatabo and whatnot shares pan out.
Oh yeah, I was heavy dumpster diving on the running backs this year. Okay.
All right.
So let's get back to this startup here, and now that we're at the reversal stage, and I'm going with the 2 running back build here. Now the question is, do I go a 3rd running back with Omarion Hampton staring me down in the Wow, this is tough. Now think about this.
It's a lot
So
of risk.
Hampton was kind of the consensus 102, I would say. Now I had Hunter. I was taking Hunter 102, but
Yes.
would you the 102 pick in our rookie drafts? Like, would you trade CJ Stroud for the 102? I don't think so. Would you trade Bo Nix for the 102? I wouldn't. Caleb Williams, I guess if I had the other quarterbacks, maybe. Man, this is tough. Which way do I go? Oh.
I mean, if you're gonna go with what you told me your board looks like, then you're taking Travis Hunter, aren't you?
Oh, you're right there.
Well, no. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the difference between rankings and a startup draft.
Absolutely. It changes. All right, I'm going to lean into it. I'm just going to go for it. We're going to go with the triple running back start. I'll try it.
Not the biggest Omarion Hampton fan at cost. I think he's a decent running back, but I think the circumstances he landed in with Harbaugh, with Harris, the nature of how Harbaugh has always been and how Roman has always been, he's a rookie. He's going to have to earn the job. Jim Harbaugh is the furthest coach in the history of the world from giving somebody a job ever. That's just not the way that man's built. And if you look at Greg Roman's entire history with Harbaugh, San Diego University, Stanford, 49ers here, and then even in Baltimore, he's deployed 2 or 3 backs almost exclusively outside of, very small circumstances. I went back and tried to dig and find a circumstance where you had a first-round running back with an incumbent running back with those coaches. The only time it happened was it was Frank Gore and
Frank Gore and with the Niners, was it?
Yeah, the younger running back. He was super frustrated and he kept being an RB2 over and over again during the Kaepernick era. I have it in my notes and now I can't remember it.
Oh, I should know this totally. I was gonna say Joe Williams, but I know that wasn't.
No, it's,
Joe Williams did not hit for us. Who was it?
It was 2014. Carlos Hyde.
There it was. Carlos Hyde, the infamous Carlos Hyde, which kept Nick Chubb down the boards in Cleveland.
So Carlos Hyde was the consensus 104 in rookie rankings that year. And then he went into that system with a dusted Frank Gore. Frank Gore ended up, I think, RB18. And Carlos Hyde was something like RB69 because he got injured. And then I believe he had like a RB2 finish after that. But just historically, again, like I was saying, just looking at it from that standpoint, Hampton's more than likely going to be a back half of the season league winner than he's going to walk into being an RB1 for your dynasty team and save the day. That's really all I'm getting at.
Now, conversely, to your point, the reason I'm able to take that bet on Omarion Hampton is because he's my RB3. So it'd be different, right, if you're taking him as your lead dog, as your RB1. Like, then you're almost not even being a win now. You're not going to win this year, really, if that's your RB1. And you're taking him with one of the last picks in the second round or early third as your top running back. So that's where this build kind of plays into being able to take Hampton. And I'm back and forth on Hampton. Like I said, Hunter ended up moving ahead of him on my rookie rankings, just because I saw that elite ceiling, right? That elite potential to get into that Neighbors, Jefferson, Chase conversation. Whereas Hampton, he can be good, but he's not like he's almost at his peak right here. I mean, we just took him at RB5. Like, I don't know how much higher he's really going to be able to go. So, yeah, I think I just got excited about the build here, and that's really where I grabbed him. But it does play into the build.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely something you're going to see somebody look at that and say, I just got Dynasty RB123. You know, there's people that they see Genty at Hampton, Gibbs, and they're just like, I don't care what else I need to do. But, like, we're probably not going to wrap around to get to the end of this draft live, but this is a prime example of one where this is an Aaron Jones team. You know, this is a Tony Pollard, you know, maybe a Spears. Like, it's almost like towards the end of this team, you're going to want to go into a zero RB mentality. You're going to want to spam to try to cover up, you know, for maybe a little bit of a rookie hiccup between one of the two or et cetera, you know, like you were talking about.
I mean, a team building like this is going to have to probably draft 3 quarterbacks at least, for sure, and they can be ugly. You can win with ugly quarterbacks in Superflex. They don't have to be awesome, but you know, you're going to have monster seasons from Genty and Gibbs in order to win with this kind of build. You can definitely win with a bunch of wide receiver 2s. It's been done with you know, a Jerry Jeudy or DK Metcalf, whatever, as your wide receiver 1 and 2s. You can do it. This isn't a build that I would do almost ever. But at the same time, with the explosion these running backs have had, and I think the elite running backs are so far ahead of the next tier of running backs that you can try and do this. Okay, so I'm not saying that I would never do it. I just don't think I would. Now, if I was at the 112 and Genty and Gibbs were staring me down, you know, I don't know if I would go Puka and Brian Thomas or Puka and Amon-Ra or Mahomes and Puka. I don't know. So, you know, it's an interesting way, and I think we're piggybacking off of last season's health at the running back position, but I'm happy I got to try it at least, and we'll see, I guess, where we go from here.
It kind of goes to real quick to the top of the show where we were talking about not intentionally going into like hoard a position, but this is like a perfect example of where like that fell to you, and now you are so rich in that position that at any point during the season, if it came down to it, you could split one of those guys, keep the points, and fill another spot on your roster.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, because if one of these running backs is popping, you could flip them for a stud wide receiver or to help out at quarterback. Get a, you know, package a Genty with another decent quarterback. Say this team, Kyler Murray or whoever ends up falling to the 412. Probably not Kyler, but you know, Trevor Lawrence, right, falls there, and Trevor Lawrence is doing well, and Genty's doing well. Boom, you might be able to get into the elite level of quarterbacks. So, yeah, just because you draft these guys at the beginning of the board, it doesn't mean that you're locked in and you're married to them forever either. All right.
I'm gonna take Bo Nix.
You're gonna go Bo Nix? All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I was all in on Bobo last year.
Bo's the reason I didn't end up with any Lad McConkey. He is the reason.
Just kept falling, and you had to take him, right? Yeah, that was Dart for me in a lot of my earlier drafts. I was like, you guys are just gonna give me Jackson Dart, like, and it just so happened I had a lot of neighbors too, so it worked out.
Oh, that works out beautiful. Me, I didn't have any neighbors, but I was more than happy to grab Dart in the latter half of the first round all day long. Like, it didn't matter, team build, whatever. I was like, dude, it's a weak quarterback class for one, and Dart, like, I loved his his off season just really, he was like the complete anti Shadur Sanders, right? This guy was out there working his ass off. He was at the combine. He was doing everything that Shadur Sanders wasn't, and you saw what happened at the NFL draft. There was a reason for it. And yeah, Bo Nix, man, this guy's a warrior. And I've got the Baker jersey up there. This guy is Baker Mayfield, like all over again. The guy, it's hard not to root for the guy. And he got in the perfect situation with Sean Payton.
Whenever you really dissect the season that he had basically one offensive weapon that was consistent in Cortland Sutton, a bunch of misfit toys around him, he had a fractured back at one point and played with a vest, and they just like, it was a blurb on the news headline for like 3 minutes, and then they were like, no, let's just not talk about that. Like, he's just he's the guy that when the coaches say that's a ball player, that's Bo Nix, and he's the kind of guy where you roster him on your team. Like, he's an awesome quarterback, he's going to be a QB1, but he makes fantasy football fun.
Yeah.
He's like the Phillip Rivers of back in our day. The kind of guy that'll just like truck somebody on like a 1 yard in the middle of the field that means nothing and be like, woo!
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there was a reason that Sean Payton had him in to throw before the draft. He literally threw it 3 times, and Payton was like, all right, this one's done. I got my guy. This is it. Yeah, he did not need to see him throw the ball. He knew what he was getting in a gamer in Bo Nix, and yeah, it's showing. I don't know if he's going to jump much higher than where he is right now. That's remained to be seen, but right now, for a dude who was pretty much written off in college heading into that last year at Oregon, for him to have risen as high as he did, and has right now, it's pretty amazing. It's a great story, really. All right, so now I am on the team with the 2 wide receiver build. You went Bo Nix. I am going to, I'm going to do it to you. I'm going to grab him. Travis Hunter. There it is. So we're going triple wide here to start. We're going to go BTJ and Travis Hunter. I know Lawrence probably isn't going to fall there. That would be the ultimate dream. But we can always work out a deal somewhere to make it happen. As I said earlier, Travis Hunter, for me, he's the one guy in this draft. He could, this time next year, we could be talking about him ahead of Ashton Genty in startup picks. So that's where I see his ceiling. The dude's possibly one of the best athletes we've ever seen grace the field. And I mean, I'm going back. I saw Bo Jackson play it. I saw Deion Sanders. Like, those 2 guys, greatest athletes I've ever seen play. Bo Jackson for sure, even more than Deion. But that's the kind of level of player you're looking at in Travis Hunter, and he is 100%. If it was up to him, he'd be out there for 100% of the plays on both sides of the ball. Now, it's not going to happen at the NFL level. We know that. There's just too much coaching and strategy and all of that involved. But I think we're going to see him on the field a little more than what we have all been talking about. That's just my opinion. And offensively, it's going to be 90% of the time, I think.
He'll be a top 10 dynasty wide receiver by mid-season, in my opinion. I mean, he's in. I'm in a 2 tight end premium analyst league, and I went around the horn, traded BTJ to get around back to Travis Hunter, and then added Ted in with the extra capital. So
nice.
That'll just show you where I'm at with that. I mean, like I said before, Brian Thomas Jr. is incredible, but in that offense, that Z role mixed in with Hunter's skill set, it's just, when you have the chance to take a player like him, like you said, like a generational Shohei Ohtani-esque of football type prospect, you just do it and figure it out later. I had him at 102 also, by the way. So
Yeah, I'll be honest. Early in the draft process, I had him down in the second round, and I was like, I'll let somebody else draft this guy and deal with that headache, right? But then Ron Stewart came out with his model, and he is huge on his rookie wide receiver model. He follows Matt Harmon very much, and so we know all the reception perception there. But when Ron Stewart bought in and said, like, this guy's analytics are as good, if not better, than the top three guys last year, and then we saw Jacksonville give up that draft capital to go up and get this guy. That's where I bought in. Like, they are going to have him on the offensive side of the field playing as much as possible, because they aren't getting. You don't give up that kind of draft capital and then play him 50-50. Okay, they're going to try and get the ball in his hands as often as they can. That's just how I look at it. You know, like the Bengals look to get the ball in Jamar Chase's hands, however which way they can, right? They work him around, they move him all over the place. Same with Miami, what they've done with Tyreek. You know, that's the kind of touches we're going to be getting from Travis Hunter. So I'm excited to look forward to it this year. But sorry I had to draft him out of you, Dustin. I know you wanted him.
No, you're good. I have a bunch of them on my teams. The biggest thing, too, that it seems is the knock is, well, if he's not a full-time wide receiver, then the capital's not worth it in fantasy, right? But he's like 20-some years old, and we act like whenever Travis Hunter goes nuclear this year, that the first conversation and the first change that's happening is fantasy football is going to have IDP scoring across the board, and then it won't even be a thing. You know what I mean? I've already had these conversations. You know, I had brought it up before the draft, and then the one guy in my one league started going on about it. I said, it's a 1-11 vote. You're not going to convince everybody to give you free points this season, brother. But
Well, I brought it up in my leagues. I'll let you finish, and then I'll tell you what I did in my leagues.
Yeah, all I was going to say was I think after a season of people rostering him across the board and getting their own exposure, I think we'll be able to come to a consensus as a community on how to handle it. But I think it's going to take that, though, because in every league, one guy has him. You know?
Right. So that, to that point, what I did is I brought it up back in February in my leagues, well before the rookie drafts, because I was like, look, here's the situation. We got a dude who's going to be a high draft pick in the NFL draft that we did not account for when we set up our rules for our startup leagues. We had no idea there was going to be a dude that was going to play both sides of the ball, possibly as much as 75% each way, or who knows what. We had no idea at that time, but I was like, I want to address this now so that when it happens, weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it's starting, like we already have planned for it, right? So the one league where we got it, we went ahead and did it. What we did was we gave 2 points for interceptions, 2 points for sacks, and we gave 6 points for a defensive touchdown. So we at least got the big plays in there for him. We didn't do tackles. We could have, and there's some leagues that I'm in. I am in 2 IDP leagues, so there obviously he's gonna get all his points. And Sleeper tried to address it, but I don't know if I fully understand how Sleeper is saying that they're going to do it. Like, if it's an offensive league, it's offensive points only, pretty much. But in the one league that I put it in, I do have the IDP points, and because he's a cornerback, I don't know. He should get the credit for the points. I know it's a very interesting situation, and it's tough to deal with. I just wanted to make sure if the dude has a nuclear game where he gets 150 yards and 2 touchdowns receiving, and he has a pick 6. Like, we've never seen a guy like this. He should be a league winner then in that case, if he's doing all of that, right? I mean, this is fantasy football after all. So, like, if he's on the field making these plays, he should get credit for it. I don't know. That's just kind of my long and short of it, I guess.
I mean, it got so deep that I had to go in, even though we don't use a defense, there's still scoring in the settings for defensive player, like
Yeah, right,
defensive player, individual defensive player touchdown, and like
right.
fumble recovery. I had to go
Mhm.
in and zero them all out just to pacify everybody, because they were like, "Well, what if he's on defense and then somebody else fumbles the ball and he picks it back up and runs in a touchdown? Then he'll get points." And then they were going after me because I have special teams touchdown scoring only always been on. He
Right,
goes, "But
right.
what if Travis Hunter scores?" I said, "Every other wide receiver that catches, that has a
Would get
kickoff
that, yeah, because I have
can get the
special teams
points."
points. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And he's like, "Well, that shouldn't be on either." I said, "Well, you should have read the rules 3 years ago."
No, I've always had special teams. I've always given the 6 for the touchdowns, and then I do it basically it's a point for every 50 yards. So it's not much, but it's there. It's
Yeah.
for something. I just look at it like if my dude's on the field doing something, he should get credit for it. And so we wanted to find a way where it wasn't that drastic, but at least Travis Hunter's going to get credit for the interceptions that he gets.
Right.
And that made everybody happy. So I don't know. I don't know that we'll ever all truly come to a consensus here. And honestly, I just hope that he just ends up playing offense all the time. And that way we don't have too much, arguing about it,
They're
really.
going to create as much noise as they can about it either way, but I just want to watch the kid ball out.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So you are up here at the 304 with your Mahomes neighbors start.
All right.
Which way you want to go there?
Let me see the full ADP here, please.
There's the top of the board. You want to see
I
a
will
position?
No, I'll take A-Chain.
Okay.
Um,
Now, Achan's grabbed some heat lately. I don't know if you've watched Player Profiler last week, but Podfather had a dude on there last week. I forget his name, but he was pretty down on the Dolphins going into this season. Personally, I look at Achan like it doesn't matter if they're a good offense, he's going to get touchdowns, but if they're a bad offense, he's just catching more balls.
right. Yeah, it's kind of one of those hero ball situations. I don't really look at it too dissimilar than when Christian McCaffrey was with the Panthers.
For
I mean,
sure.
he's the best player on the field, basically. And then, everybody always wants to point at the injury factor thing, but when you're talking about a gladiator sport like the NFL, that's kind of just par for the course, you know what I mean?
For sure.
But Achan, so when I do rankings, I haven't even started my full rankings yet. I don't even include the rookies.
Yeah, I haven't either. I still have my veteran. It still is just all veterans. I haven't plugged the
Right.
rookies in yet either.
And so, Genty's great, Hampton's great, all these guys are great, but it's just like you were talking J.J. McCarthy before. These guys haven't stepped on an NFL field and played a snap in a regular season game yet, period. So when I'm looking at the board, I'm looking at Devon Achan. He's top 3, top 4 running back, and he's just hanging out at the 3-4 for me. And his skill set, I'm a satellite back plus guy.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Podfather like you just did. I mean, I really picked up on that from him. But like you said, I mean, it doesn't really matter if they move any of these pieces around in the offense. Achan has that queen on the board position. He's the joker,
For sure.
quote of that offense. So he's just a PPR machine.
Yeah, I haven't traded away any shares of mine yet. I got 4 shares of them. I'll hang on to them. I'm good with it. All right, so this
a quarterback in a 32-team league, and I had to sell Achan or Bucky, and I kept Bucky because of the stand.
Ooh.
Yeah, spicy.
So are you taking Bucky with the next? Because I'm not going Bucky here. I as much as I love Bucky as a Tampa fan, I'm going to let him slide a little bit. I'm going to go. This is going to be my team that I would never pick, but they're there, so I'm picking them. And there we go. I have 0 Caleb Williams shares, and I have not even attempted a trade yet this offseason, even though I like the outlook. Ben Johnson coming in, they built up that O-line. I mean, the narrative is all looking great, but the narrative all looked great last year too. And so I guess I'm waiting to see it on the field from Caleb Williams. Jaden Daniels did way more with a lot less. And so it just came down to dedication to the game. I mean, Jaden Daniels spends how many hours on film and with the headset, the VR headset. Like, the dude is just obsessed with the game, right? And Caleb Williams is just walking in the building expecting to own part of the team. Like, that just isn't how it works, man. I don't know what Shedeur Sanders was watching last year, but that's not how it works in the NFL. You got to earn that respect, and that's what Jaden Daniels has done, and we got to see it from Caleb Williams. I'm strictly just drafting value here, honestly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll go Caleb Williams. And
the one thing with Caleb up through his evaluation process was we just let him be bad for like a year and a half in college. And then they were like, but he had that good season, and then they drafted him like at the very top of the draft, but people expected there to be no development needed when he showed through his entire college career that he needed to develop. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Well, it's on you, buddy.
Bucky.
306 here with your Bowers Collins build.
I'll take Bucky Irving.
All right, Bucky it is.
He's good.
There we go.
That's the quote.
That's right. He is a football player, and he is good at it. Kind of following the Kyron Williams train there, like a low draft pick, but showing that he can play and moving himself up ahead of the other guys on the totem pole. I mean, as a Bucs fan, dude, by the end of the season, I think it was the playoff game, Rachaad White, like, he didn't even Sean Tucker outsnapped Rachaad White in that last game. So, I mean, Bucky just kept increasing as the game went on and as the season went on. And, I mean, it's going to be his backfield this year. So I wish him the best. Honestly, I'd love to see 20 touchdowns out of the guy. I'll be happy with that, regardless of how many shares I've got of him in fantasy. But, yeah, he's definitely steamed up the boards immensely here. All right. 307. Okay, so I can go a couple of routes here. You could argue there's one quarterback left in the tier, but then there's Jordan Love and Kyler Murray as well. And Jordan Love and CJ Stroud are very similar to me. Stroud at least has Nico, but you passed on the stack, and I'm going to pass on it too. I'm going to go Marvin Harrison here. I still believe in Marv. I mean, the dude put up basically the same numbers his dad did in his rookie season, and there's so much hate, and it's all simply because of Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas blowing up immensely that rookie season. Otherwise, Marv would be fine. So, yeah, that's where I'm at on Marv. I still like him, and I'll take him here in the middle of the third round for sure. All right.
Okay, so we got the Jamar Chase, Saquon Barkley start here. So I'm thinking there's probably no way that the Daniels and Allen teams don't take a QB. So I'm going to go with CJ Stroud here.
Okay. That would make sense. That's good planning there. All right. So a nice even build there. Chase, Saquon, and Stroud. Can't really argue against that. Now we are at the team that double tapped quarterback to start in Hurts and Herbert. And so let me see here. Oh, I want to. Normally, I would just take A.J. Brown, but I feel like I'm reaching just for the stack. Yeah, I'm just going to take JSN, go the youth route there. And then you are up with your Lamar Jackson, Drake May build.
So I was looking at Wilson, Brown, or JSN. I'm going to go Garrett Wilson just for the youth factor, since I'm already kind of leaning that direction, basically.
Are you worried about Justin Fields at all? Because I'm not.
No,
What are you?
I'm all in on Fields. I think I have him on like 5 out of 10 of my teams. I'm an Ohio State lifer as well as a Pittsburgh resident, so
Okay.
having Fields last year was like a fever dream. But it's been hammered like to the nth degree with the whole Wilson Fields Ohio State connection thing. But when you look at the numbers, I mean, it was basically the best seasons of both of their careers happened when they played together.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you have to factor in that Fields was a part of putting 2 guys into the first round in the NFL. It's not like he's a terrible quarterback. He's unfortunately he was with the Bears. Terrible.
And he had to run. Like, he ran more with the Bears, way more than he did at Ohio State. From what I remember,
Right.
he was like C.J. Stroud at Ohio State. I just...
Yeah.
It
In
shocked.
the evaluation process, they said he was a good runner, but he didn't run much in college type thing. And then he comes in and he's like one of the most efficient rushers in the NFL in his career time.
It really boggles my mind. It does.
And then, for me, the way I look at Fields is I'm getting a 1,000-yard rusher. I'm getting, however many extra touchdowns. And then if I get 60% completion percentage out of him, like, bang. Like, he's been a QB1 every time he's touched the field.
And he doesn't have Russell Wilson breathing down his shoulder this year either. So, like, the job's his.
More like it. It's Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's terrible. Fire Mike Tomlin.
Oh, I was so pissed when they took Fields out last year. I had him on it. Oh, man. That killed one of my teams. But anyway, I think we're both on the same page there.
We drafted Terrell Edmonds instead of Lamar Jackson. That's all I'll say. But yeah, getting back around to the point I was getting to, though, A.J. Brown is like steaming up for redraft right now. And I pay a lot of attention to underdog best ball and redraft rankings. Like I do FFPC and stuff like that. PFF just came out with not their fantasy top 10, but their top 10 wide receivers in the NFL, and A.J. Brown was number 1.
Number 1.
Number 1.
Now, I love some AJB. I mean, he's been my guy. And, I love where he's been falling in startups. I'll say that. It was redraft, that's good to know.
Yeah, it was his efficiency metrics, his receiving grades, just like a bunch of this stuff was just... It's like unstoppable attributes to his game. It's like stuff you can't take away. You know what I mean? He's unguardable in man coverage is what it really came down to.
Yeah, so the question with AJB then is how much of a fall off in value will he have in comparison to somebody like Davante Adams, I guess? Is that's what kind of trajectory you're kind of looking at for A.J. Brown's career? So does he keep it up at that level for the next 2 years, 3 years? Because then he's totally worth, like, I should have taken him already then, right?
Yeah, right.
And
it's crazy you said that, because in my mind when you were saying that, I was just thinking A.J. Brown is the next Davante Adams, isn't he? So
That's what I'm trying to picture, because I have a ton of
yeah.
AJ Brown shares that I've had for years. And whenever it comes to, well, should I trade him before he dies? It's like, no, this dude's going to keep producing. So, like, I just, yeah, I'm sticking with him. I'm, oh, do I draft him now? That's the the question
Yeah,
after we
that
just talked him up here. Oh, well, you got a Josh Allen, Drake London squad. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do it because I could grab another running back in the next round after these two, but I couldn't get AJ Brown. Probably is how I'm looking at it. So I'm gonna play the board here and take AJ Brown so that Team One can't get him.
all right. Now this is a tough spot right here. Who do we have on the board for just the running backs behind Brees
Okay,
Hall?
running backs. Running backs, we are looking at Brees, JT, Travion, and then Kyron and
Tut-
Quinshawn.
Quinshawn Tudkins. All right. Tight end, wide receiver. Can you
Tight
click the
end would be
flex-
Laporta.
Can you click the flex tab for me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Man, they have Tet that high in a startup already.
Yeah, I don't like
Um,
drafting Tet that high. I have no problems with Tet. I just I don't know where to put him. Like these this
don't
is the
know
right
who else
tier
I
for
would-
him, but like do you
Yeah.
want him over Rashee Rice is the hard one for me to buy because I'm in on Rashee Rice and like I love where you can get him right now. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. I was on the buy train with Rasheed during the playoffs, I think, whenever Worthy started blowing up.
Yeah,
And
I bought him on a couple of rebuilds last year in the middle of the season. I was like, this is great. This is
I
awesome.
got like nuked on X by people for saying I would buy all the discounted Rasheed Rice shares, and then now they're sharing the videos of him running around. Speaking of that, though, I think sitting here at the end of the third, I'm gonna have to grab T. Higgins just from
Okay.
the
Fair enough. Yeah.
upside. Take a little bit more risk there.
Makes sense. Now, we're going to end it here, but just out of curiosity, who would you have probably followed that up with this build that you've got going on? Because this is going to be pretty common for people grabbing either Jaden Daniels or Josh Allen at 101, then grabbing back-to-back wide receivers. Who do you think you would probably follow that up with? A third wideout, a second quarterback, or going running back?
Can you click on the QBs for me real quick?
Sure. I guess it comes down to like where you're at on Kyler, right? Like, because I'll take
Yeah.
Kyler over Jordan Love all day, but where do you go Baker even?
That's
I
actually
love
what
Baker,
was
but
just-
it still feels too high for Baker Mayfield. I don't know.
I must be crazy then, because I was just about to say I would probably take Brock Purdy over all of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, he's been getting steamed up, that's for sure. I just don't know if I want to buy into the contract too much. That's all. I don't know about the weapons there. The weapons
The
are
thing.
are there, but they're getting old, or I don't know. But
Right.
it's Shanahan, so
The thing I'm buying into with Purdy is
the system.
McCaffrey is healthy right
No.
now, but last year he was injured. When McCaffrey was injured, what happened? Purdy took over the offense and went nuclear. So it's already built in. You know, if McCaffrey's great, then the offense is going to be great. It's kind of
Sure.
it's the theme of the show we've been talking about. You know, it's about the opportunity funnel. You know, is this guy a rep away, a play away, a hamstring away, an opportunity away, and that's where that value jumps the board, and you go from being a playoff contender to winning the whole thing. You
Yeah,
know,
and
Devontae
maybe
Adams came off the bench last year. Speaking of Devontae Adams, he came off your dynasty bench and won you a ship last year.
for sure, and maybe Purdy's price is just finally catching up with itself. I mean, Purdy's been a top 10 quarterback every year. Like, it's, he's been better than Stroud and Caleb and all these guys. We're just
Love,
buying the hype really on Caleb and
yeah,
Stroud. And Stroud, even, I mean, last year's price was insane. I was nowhere near, I was all off that last year. But even still, right here, like, he's got no rushing upside, right? Like we said last year, why we weren't buying Stroud. We're like, dude, you realize he's got to put up Joe Burrow numbers to
right.
legitimize this price. And I think it was just the hype with the wide receiver room that they had put together and all of that. But it was still way insane that he was going 103 in
Right.
startups. Um,
I guess the final argument when I look at it, right? If you look at Love, look at Murray, look at Ward, look at Mayfield,
yeah,
look at their offensive skill group, the age, the talent, the draft capital, who's in a plus EV situation for the future? It's Brock Purdy. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
They laid out the carpet for Purdy. The plan's there, the players are there. Whether or not he can execute and really get to that point, I mean, we'll see it. But I don't see really that path being laid out yet for these other guys. I mean, they have good weapons, but it just seems for me that San Francisco did the old reload instead of rebuild like we do on a dynasty team. You know, they're going to give it one more go, and we'll see where it goes. But in the end, no matter what, it's going to be Brock Purdy. He's not going anywhere.
No, he is not going anywhere now, and I don't think Kyle Shanahan's going anywhere soon either. And so you got that kind of tandem there. I mean, Matt Ryan did it for years, right? He consistently was over and over and over again that pocket passer that you could count on. And yeah, he had one huge blow up year, but aside from that, he was still pretty damn good all the time. And I think that's what we're going to see from Purdy. So as much as we want to keep pushing him down the board, the reality is we should be pushing him up the board. Yeah, so great points there, Dustin. All right, well, we had a lot to talk about. We'll say that. I was hoping to get through 4 or 5 rounds. Not quite the case here, but that's all good because I think we helped you out with the beginning of your startups, saw how some builds can start, and first 3 rounds definitely help shape your team. Again, you can't win your league in the first 3 rounds, but you definitely can lose it. And so this is a way that team building happens. And, if it's your first Dynasty League, watch a lot of shows, not just the Birdhouse, not just Dynasty Rewind, although you should start with us. But, there's a lot of good content out there. Dustin and I both consume a lot of content, and that's why we've been successful in Dynasty, because you have to see all different angles. And remember, remain fluid. Don't commit yourself. If there's one thing, don't commit yourself ahead of the draft to one build. That's the easiest way I can put it. Any other final thought, Dustin?
No, I think we really broke down a lot of the why behind a lot of the decisions. These first 3 rounds are going to be like those building blocks. It's a dynasty team. You want to look at this team 2, 3, 4 years. So I think you absolutely nailed it. You're not going to win in these first couple rounds, but you can definitely put yourself in a hole. And nobody wants to be the always rebuilding guy in their league.
No. And we don't have any Anthony Richardsons or Trey Lance's bombs to avoid this year. They're just not. They're not there like in the past years. And anybody who drafted those guys early on knows the feeling. And it's unfortunate. There's ways around it. Don't get me wrong. I won a championship on a team that drafted Trey Lance at the beginning of the 2nd round. But it's tough. It makes it a lot harder on yourself. So just don't be afraid to just grab the best valuable player, especially this year. The top 3 rounds are littered with pretty solid talent, I think. So, all right. Final shout out, Dustin. I will make sure that we get your links in the comments. I want to really say thank you for joining us tonight in the Birdhouse. Hope to have you back soon, at some point, maybe this off season even. And I wish you the best over there on Dynasty Rewind, helping them out with the product.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And thanks for everybody for checking out the episode. Make sure you like and subscribe, and you'll be seeing my face all over the place.
Awesome.
Peace.
And guys out there, as always, remember, never stop working.